A very good morning, children. Myself, Hemlata Mani, your English teacher, welcome you all for online class. I hope you all are fine, children, and your studies are going on pretty well. So in today's class, we are going to learn a new lesson from Balbharti textbook, that is lesson number 13, The Adventures of Gulliver. The Adventures of Gulliver. So children, we will see about what adventure Gulliver has done. All right, so let's begin the class. Gulliver's Travels is an interesting book written by a well-known English writer, Jonathan Swift, in which he describes the voyages of Gulliver's to various lands like Lilliput and Brobdingnag. So children, here we will see what adventure Gulliver has done. So Gulliver's Travels is an interesting book. It's a name of a book, all right, and it is written by English writer Jonathan Swift, in which he describes what voyages of Gulliver, okay, to various lands like Lilliput and Brobdingnag. Though the character of Gulliver and the strange sounding lands are imaginary. Now, though this book, Gulliver's Travels book, is written by Jonathan, but it is imaginary. It is not real, children, okay? So, Gulliver's experiences and adventuresses are written so well that they seem real and true to life. So, this is just imaginary, but when we read and what the experiences and adventure Gulliver has an experience and adventure. So by learning this, we feel like it's a real story and of a true life, but it's not a real story, it's an imaginary story, children, okay? Now Gulliver, the story tells us Gulliver, right? So what does the story tells us? Work as a surgeon on ships. So Gulliver, he works as a surgeon, you all know, children, right? So surgeon on ships, right? Now as such he made several voyages. In May 1699 he sailed on the ship the Antelope. So in which year? In May 1699 he sailed off on the ship, right, and the Antelope. On the return journey in November, he was on the ship in May 1699, but when he returned in November, a violent storm sank his ship and Gulliver swam to save his life. So, a violent storm sank his ship. Okay, he was on the ship, a violent storm on his ship and Gulliver swam to save his life. Late in the evening, he found himself marooned on the strange land. So he found himself on the strange land, weak and exhausted. He was very weak and very tired. He slept for about 9 hours. When he found himself on a strange land, on a new land, there he was very exhausted, very tired. So there he slept for 9 hours. It was daylight when he awoke. It was daylight when he slept for 9 years. It was in the evening when he was found on a strange land. Sorry. So after sleeping for 9 hours, he took rest for 9 hours, and after that he woke up in the daylight. Let us read what happened next in his own words. Now see, this is an imaginary story, okay? So when he was found on a strange land and there he was very tired, so he took rest for 9 hours and then he woke up. So thereafter we'll see what actually happens. So when he woke up, so Gulliver meets the Lilliputians. So Gulliver meets the Lilliputians. So we will see. I tried to get up from the ground, but I could not move. So he was trying to get up, after sleeping for 9 hours, after taking rest for 9 hours, he tried to get up from the land, but he was not able to move himself. I was lying on my back. So he was lying on his back. Then I found that my arms and feet were held down to the ground with strings. Then he found himself that his arms and feet were held down to the ground with strings. My hairs, which was long, was held down in the same way. So when he was on the floor, when he was on the land, his hair also which was long, it was also held down in same way. Thousands of strings had been passed across my body. Thousands of strings has been passed across his body. You can see in the picture. See, long hair is there, strings are there. Thousands of strings has been passed across his body, so that I could not move any part of me. Like all the strings were there, so he was not able to move his any part of the body, but could only lie there on my back looking up at the sky. So like thousands of strings were there around his body, but he was not able to move. So he was only able to lie on his back and he was able to look at the sky. In a little time, I felt something alive moving on my foot. So in a little time, like meanwhile he was just he was just feeling like, yeah, all strings are there, I'm not able to move myself. Then he felt something is there on his foot. Then it came over. So what was in his foot? It came over. We'll see. Yeah. So came over my body and up to my face. So like after a while he felt something is there on his foot, and like later on he felt like it is coming up on my face. Turning my eyes down as much as I could, I saw a man. So like he was not able to move his body, he was lying on back and he was looking up in the sky. So but just putting his eyes down, and he saw a man. He was not half a foot height. He was not a half foot height. Less than half. The height was less than half. By his dress, he seemed to be a soldier. So see children, here you can see. So when he turned his eyes and he saw who's there on my foot, he found a man, but he was less than half height. His height was less than half. Then and like when he saw, so he felt like he's looking like a soldier, right? Then there came 40 more following the first. So the first he saw on foot, which was looking like a soldier, was less than half, like height was less than half, was like later on it increased in number, was 40. As you can see in the picture children, as you can see in the picture, this red fellows, right? No, so these are the fellows the Gulliver is talking about, right? So 1, 2, 3, as you can see here, there are less, but there were 40 in number. Okay, I was so surprised that I gave a great cry. So he was so surprised, he was shocked, we can say, by seeing 40 men. Height was only half a foot and was looking like a soldier, and were putting up strings on him, and like he was not able to move. So he was shocked, he was surprised, and he had a great cry. He gave a great cry. He started crying. Then they all ran back in a great fear. When he started crying, so the man with a half foot height, they all ran away by listening that he is crying. And as I was told later, some of them were hurt in jumping down from my side onto the ground. Now there were some were on his on in front, like on his body, right? So when he started crying, so they all got feared, and they all got scared, and they all ran away. So like he felt like, yeah, some of them who were on my on the top of my body, when they were jumping, they got hurt. Then Gulliver's attempts to pull free. Now strings are there, he's not able to move himself, his body. Now Gulliver's attempts to pull free. We'll see this. After pulling very hard, I got one arm up from the ground. So after pulling very hard, now the strings you can see. How will a person will move? So after pulling very hard, he got one arm up from the ground. So one arm he was able to move up from the ground. I also raised my head. This gave me great pain, for many of the hairs were pulled out. So He also raised his head. He moved his arm, but he also raised his head. This gave him a great pain, for many hairs were pulled out because his hairs were also tied with the strings. When he moved his head, so it gave the great pain. I put out my hand to catch some of the little man, but they ran away before I could close my hand on them. So when he was moving, he moved his shoulder and he was trying to catch that little man, but they ran away before he closed my hand to close his hand to catch them. They ran away. Then I heard a noise and felt a pricking in my hand like that of 1,000 needles. So he heard a noise and he felt like thousands of needles pricking in his hand with the needles they have tied. I found that they were shooting arrows at me. So he felt that needles were there. So he felt that they were shooting arrows on this Gulliver. I was afraid for my eyes. So they were shooting arrows. So he was afraid for his eyes because his eyes were open, right? I put my hand over my face. After this, I thought that the wisest thing. So what he felt that they are shooting arrows. So he kept his hand on his face, and he thought wisest thing. I thought that the wisest thing to do was to lie quiet till night. So he felt when he was trying to move his body, his hand, his head. So they were shooting him with the needles. So he thought that I should lie quiet till night. I thought that then my hand being free. So he thought his hands are free now. I could quickly set free the rest of my body. So hands were free. So if hands are free, so he will be able to remove all the strings and will be able to rest all his body. Soon a platform was raised and an important looking man gave a long speech. So soon a platform raised, an important man looking gave him a long speech. From his gestures, I guessed that he was trying to tell me that they would not harm me if I did as they told. I too replied with gestures that I would remain quiet. I also told them that I was hungry. Now soon a platform was raised. He was lying down on the body. He was lying, and he felt like that he should rest his body quickly when his hands were free. And then quickly a platform raised and an important looking man gave a speech. From his gesture, he said that he's trying to tell me that the fellow was trying to tell Gulliver that they will not harm you, right? So they will do what I will say. So he too replied. Gulliver also replied, okay. So he said, I will remain quiet, and he told them that I was hungry. So he told them that he felt hungry. So he told them that I am hungry. So children, in today's class we will be doing this much only. Your home assignment is to read this lesson, okay? To read this lesson, The Adventures of Gulliver. Alright, you need to read this lesson. Kindly underline the difficult words, and we will be coming up upcoming in the next class. We will be doing Gulliver Eats a Giant Meal. Okay children, so kindly read and underline the difficult words. Thank you for your time. If any doubt or query, kindly WhatsApp me. Have a nice day. Thank you.